BFF Real Podcast, where we pick a movie and rant and review about it, always keeping it 100% real. We're your host, Edgar.
And I'm Jayla, and today we want to invite you into our conversation on the film The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. And a little synopsis before we start. Vicaria is a brilliant teenager who believes death is a disease that can be cured. After the brutal murder of her brother, she embarks on a dangerous journey to bring him back to life.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty good synopsis. I feel like, that just says everything in the first 20 minutes. Yeah. Edgar, how'd you feel about this movie?
I hated this movie.
Oh, legit.
It was shit. I freaking hated this movie. No shame to the actors. The actors were great. And the shots, a lot of them were great. The plot was ass. The writing, ass, in my opinion, that I very much believe is correct. Yeah. How did you feel about it?
I first 5 minutes looking at it, I was like, okay, maybe it's a budget problem, right? Because I feel like I agree. I like the actors. Kid actors are always like a hit or miss for me. I feel like these kids were like good.
They were hit, yeah,
They
for
were
sure.
good, and the actors themselves, I think they were good. But the plot
Mhm.
is something that's so tricky because it's based off of, well, not based, like heavily based, but it's obviously a reincarnation, I guess, of Frankenstein, of like the whole idea of like this mad scientist bringing this creature monster, for lack of better words, back to life. And like, yeah, that's the concept and it follows through. It's just like you said, like the dialogue doesn't always hit correctly.
Mhm.
And that's not to say that the actors didn't try, because they did. You could tell they brought like a lot of personality to that dialogue, but I just, it felt like it both dragged on for some scenes a lot, but
Mhm.
also like, because it's a suspenseful movie. It had horror elements. It was, it had horror in it, but it definitely tried to be more suspenseful, and you could tell because it like dragged
Mhm.
on. It tried to like focus on certain things to make it seem more like, "Ooh, what's gonna happen?" But like, I don't. It just didn't hit as much for some reason.
It, it was such a bad movie, in my opinion. Because I think like what lost me was mainly the everything, the plot. It was bad. Like
Okay.
I know it was like it was meant to be Frankenstein type thing, but the writing was awful. It was brutal. It did not make sense. We never really know how the brother died, I think. What we kind of get a little bit like at the very end, like, oh, I sent him down there or something. Um but a lot of its meanings, it felt like sometimes they weren't doing enough with the main plot, but sometimes they try to do too much. Like they had like other stuff going on. Like I know they had like some messages about like racism throughout the plot or throughout the film, especially with the friend. I think it was Asia, the friend, that was pregnant, that was always trying to teach her kids about like Malcolm X and stuff like that. Like and that, yeah, that was great. However, you have to like work it into the plot somehow. I know they talked about like a lot about like gun violence and like police brutality. Like that was a very big plot. They didn't work it in to the what the film was about. They did not do a good job about that at all. Like
Mm.
it was not worked into the plot like at all, like with the brother and stuff. Like we pretty much only see black people dying, like throughout the film. It's not, the writing was very, very, very beginner. Very,
Mm.
I don't know shit about writing.
Oh, damn.
No, straight up. Like kudos to like the director, like the people, like the actor. The actors were great actors. The
Hmm.
director, like with the shots and stuff, they did what they could. The writing was rough. The storytelling, rough. Like,
Mm.
yeah. And I would even say like the costume design and makeup was rough as fuck, in my
Let me
opinion.
see. I
Hmm.
think actually I'll disagree only in the fact that I feel like most of the budget went towards the gore in this film. Like the
The
special
gore.
effects, no
Mm.
practical effects. Cuz like
Yeah.
there was some like bloody nasty scenes like when
Mm.
she was assembling her brother Chris together, like
Yeah.
oh, she pulled off a tendon. It was so gross. It
Mhm.
was oh, that was gross. And then like
Yeah.
people's faces were just ripped off and stuff. So I think that makeup an aspect. I feel like they
I agree. I agree that they probably did spend a lot of money and it looked like it. What my main problem is mainly with the actual like characters, especially the brother. He it looked rough. Like y'all could have done like that was very underwhelming. Like that was an underwhelming villain. It felt, if you're gonna give a zombie, like why have his we never saw like really like his face. Like it was underwhelming
mm,
to me. I agree that some like the gore scenes, like in the action, yes, sure. But like also I point something like I pointed out too is, remember when that guy got shot like almost in half,
oh
like towards the
yeah.
end of the movie, and then he had like a streak of blood,
Yeah.
like when he got hit. I was like, okay.
You could tell this
So
was like indie, like very
it was a very amateur. Like it gave amateur creators with like, oh, I could pay for good actors though.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I said yeah.
like I got money. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna make this. I have no clue what I'm doing.
You know what?
However,
Good for them.
I'm rich. I'm rich, and I could pay for good people. But like the general project, shit, because you who created it, but it was shit. Amateur, never done it before.
Yeah.
Jayla, I want to complain about something real quick. Oh, say your point. Then I'm gonna.
I was just gonna say I looked it up afterwards, and apparently they had a $40 billion budget, which is on the lower end. Usually it's about
Did you say
50
billion?
million
Okay,
billion. Can you imagine?
40 million.
Yeah.
40 million for.
I was trying to figure out where the money went to, and it said a lot of it was production. So gore, production. I don't like. Okay, so they had to film in a
Give us
whole
that money,
neighborhood.
Jayla. You know what the beggar we do with that money? Imagine, girl.
It's like
That's what that. There's no fuck. $40 million, and that's what you made.
for
Oh
context,
my.
and this is just because I just watched it, but I just watched Project X, and that was only $12 million
There's a lot of other horror movies. There's
that
some
are
good
lower
ass horror
budget.
movies that have like $100,000. Like
Yeah,
that movie was. It's the writing. It's like you can't blame it on the director really, unless the director wrote it, which I don't think
wrote it.
they did. But it's definitely not the actors. It's definitely not like the special effects people. It is the writer.
Mm.
In a little bit, I blame a little bit on the costume thing. You know what? The director should have caught that though. So
So
his
whose
fault.
fault? Yeah, I'm gonna come back to the writing, but you had a
But
point.
like also the antagonist, it did not look like, what in what world is gonna be a guy with dreads and a hoodie? And
He's
that's like
black.
your main monster. Yeah, but you could have done so much with that.
Yeah,
You they
they.
could have. It
Let
was
me
very
see.
disappointing.
There was a dream sequence, if you remember, where Vicaria was trying to fall asleep, and she just saw her brother,
Yeah.
and she saw like
Mm-hmm.
they had a face to him, and like I don't know, remember his hand? It was all like bubbly and gastric because she'd been sewing people
Yeah.
together. Yeah, she'd been sewing people together to get the pieces.
They could have done much more, like with the gore, like with that. It didn't come through, and Also in the dream sequence that you were talking about, that was also like the only problem with like the actual like directing or visuals of the film
Mm-hmm.
was that like what
Sequence.
like when I remember that dream sequence, it did not make sense because we kept flashing back to each of them and they were like in completely different
Different.
worlds. Like she
I
had like
noticed
a light
that.
flashing,
Yeah.
and then it was like just like it did not make sense. I was so bothered by that because like I'm a visuals like lighting type of guy and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that was awful. I was like, what the fuck are you trying to do? They're cool shots individually,
But
but like you having them
together,
together like that, no,
no.
it does not work like that.
And
Yeah.
like I try to play it off. I'm like, yeah, it's a dream sequence, but like then why have it
Mhm.
like her like
Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
there were cool shots like like him crawling out and like following like with the light like that. Like that was amazing,
Mm.
but it did not make sense with the what was
With what was
happening.
her
Like
yeah. She should have just
it
like
was so frustrating.
yeah, she should have just like crept forward and maybe like a streetlight would illuminate her as she got closer. But the
Yeah,
flashing, yeah, you're right.
I think what frustrates me the most about this film is like they had the resources, they had everything there to make an amazing film,
Mm-hmm.
and they just said,
Ah,
literally,
damn.
I don't know who the fuck to blame, but someone's to blame. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Shelley who wrote it. Mary
Frankenstein.
Shelley, stop
Yeah.
writing.
Oh, girl, wait. I'll say something about that. But going way back, you said you wanted to complain about something else in the film.
Yeah.
I want to complain about that in the film. But you go first. You go first. What did you want to complain about?
No, you go first, actually.
Okay,
Because
so
mine is
because
going a little off topic
all right, that mine's a big rant
from what
then.
we're talking about now. Okay, go off.
Okay. As an English major, I had to, of course, read Frankenstein, like the original Frankenstein. You remember? I can't name drop. There was a professor that loved Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley's the girl. Like, she is the girl. But, okay, Frankenstein. Edgar, have you read it or no? Did you have to read it or no?
I want to clarify to the audience. I have not read it, but I would
Okay.
like you introduce yourself as an English major. You studied film and you concentrated in like pretty much
I concentrated in
the
film.
writing
I'm an
aspect.
English
Yeah,
major. Don't
yeah,
try to twist it. No, because
but
I
in
took that
film.
literature class. No, 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 no. That literature class, it had Frankenstein. It was a horror class that talked about literature.
Oh,
That
that
one.
class.
Yes.
Yikes.
And there was yes, that's what I'm saying. Anyways, nowhere in the history of literature, like the literature as a whole, not just horror, not just science fiction, have I ever met someone I wanted to beat up more than Victor Frankenstein. He is the biggest bitch in literature for several reasons. The biggest reason is that he made this monster and then immediately was scared of it. Not during the process, not as he was building
Mhm.
this thing. Right after it comes alive, he becomes a bitch and is scared. He runs from it, and then he introduces it to the world basically, and then he makes it a girlfriend which he immediately kills, traumatizing said monster. That's Victor, right? Which
Mhm. Yeah.
Vicaria, Victor, I realized at the end that it was like supposed to like be close to the name, which is kind of cute. Like the
Mhm.
baby's name was Victor. That was kind of cute.
Yeah.
um
I would I would like to apologize to the audience by doing some research. I found out that Mary Shelley is the original author of actual Frankenstein
yeah.
because this movie is based on Frankenstein. I did not realize. I thought it was like whoever adapted it. So not her, don't fuck
Oh,
her. Whoever the fuck adapted and wrote the script to this specific film, they're the one to blame. They created complete and utter shit.
yes.
Yeah.
But so what I'm saying is Victor in the book is a little crybaby bitch, right?
Hmm.
And it makes sense that Frankenstein's monster, the monster that comes out of it, is not only treated badly, but also like he becomes this thing that like he's a bad person, like it's a bad person. Therefore, his like retribution, what happens to him in that book, makes sense. For her, for Vicaria, she's not supposed to like. I don't know. Did you get that? Because for me, I thought it would have a similar message as okay, she messed up. She should know that she messed up, and she should not try some of this shit again. Like it's like this character doing something like this, seeing the consequences of it, kind of full circle moment, having that, what did I write? This idea that you made a monster. But no, at the end, she says, and I quote, what was it? They called him a monster, they made him into one. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. She made it a monster. She made a monster. She called him a
Mhm.
monster. She had dreams about said monster. After making the monster, she got scared of him, tried to lock him up, didn't give him
That
food, didn't give him any
that
kind of
makes yeah.
like
Hmm.
girl. And then you get scared when he showed no threat to you at first, only threat to the people who were upset at him. I mean, who tried to like,
Right.
kill him and stuff. And then
Right.
you decide to tell nobody, even though you know he's AWOL. You know he's running around this neighborhood causing chaos, killing cops.
Like not even her dad or
Not
anything.
even
Like
her dad. And then you're surprised when he shows up at your house and kills your dad because the dad's gonna be scared. Hey, you made a monster. You know what he looks like. Why are you suddenly afraid after he wakes up and is the thing that you made him into?
right.
Like, she was so frustrating, but like,
She
she had
was.
points, but, and here's the thing. I think what they kind of do is they play her off as not young, but like, so she's operating on the idea that death is a disease, but she's still afraid of death.
Hmm.
Like when the gunshots go off around her house, she's scared, she's hiding, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So like she's a little bit of a hypocrite, but she's smart. So when a smart person is a hypocrite, it makes sense for them to like just not see their ways, to like do stuff again, try to just improve instead of realizing that okay, dead people are dead people. It sucks and it's tragic to have to move on, but like real talk, like being fucking for real, you're dead much longer than you're alive. You know that? Like
Hmm.
you will be dead much longer than you will ever be alive on this earth. I think you'll be dead much longer than you'll like not even a concept. Like before you were alive, I think you'll be dead longer than before you were alive, before you were anything. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think so. In that
For any
sense,
stoners listening, my condolences.
listen, talk about it. Isn't this the best time to like, get your high thoughts? Go off, go off.
No, you listen. It is riddling. I barely got what you're saying. No,
Ah,
but I agree. Clearly, it's true.
right. And like that's
Yeah.
why the concept of Victor Frankenstein, he's like you hate him. You're supposed to hate him because he's such a crybaby bitch. But her, Vicaria, you're not supposed to hate her. You're supposed to one either relate to her, which there's some she makes good points, but then you feel bad when you want to chastise her because she's seen death all her life. She literally like after the end of the movie where all her oh, when the little girl was like, "Can you bring our family back?" I paused the movie and I was like,
Hmm.
"Girl, your family's just fine." And then they showed that her family was dead. I'm like, "Oh, I spoke way too soon. My
Right.
bad." But
You know that little girl, like throughout the thing, she looks just like my little cousin.
really,
Yeah, so I was like, oh,
you better
the
call
little
her.
yeah. I tell you about the little smart ass one. Yeah,
Mm, mm.
just like her. I'm like,
That's so. She's
mm.
good through the movie too. Little kid actors, she hit.
Hmm.
She did it good.
She was great.
She's
I
a
think the
badass little
kid
kid.
actors were all great. Actually,
Yeah,
like all the like the little boy that died in the beginning, he was great.
he was good.
I thought
Oh
she was
yeah.
gonna build hmm yeah,
You thought she was gonna build
but
what?
an army of like dead people. So I thought she was also gonna
Oh,
like do it with like her dad, and then she was gonna fight like the little kid and shit. Not her dad, her
gotcha.
mom. She was that she know it's so yeah, I agree with you with it's so infuriating like what she did. It's so
Hmm.
dumb.
And then
But
does it more.
also her dad, how the hell you're gonna know? Like the teacher that the school scene was definitely like okay, fucked up. There was a lot of like racial moments. But like it got I don't know, tell me if you felt this way, but I felt myself like in a gray area. Clearly I disagreed, like there was clearly like racism and like racial shit happening. But at the same time I was like, okay, but like you're also like doing too much, and then your
Yes.
dad like the dad's response was like like especially because the teacher, we know the teacher's a bitch, but like during the actual meeting with her and her dad, she was not being a bitch. She was like actually like things that would be concerning to a parent, but the
Right.
father was like, "Ah." If I found my kid
Right.
was doing that, oh hell no! What the fuck you mean? Like,
Right.
oh, leave my dad alone. Like that ain't normal behavior. The teacher has valid concern right there. This ain't just racist.
Yeah.
Like how did you feel? Because I was like very morally like gray. I was like, well, I'm on y'all side, but like also like, like what the
No.
fuck?
That described it perfectly because during the whole interaction, like you said, she was doing way too much. You know, she is just there to teach and to get off the clock. She don't care. Like you can tell her she don't give an F about your actual
She
education.
kept interrupting her, like teaching for
Yes,
her. Like I'd be pissed off too. Like,
this
bitch,
is
what
not the
the fuck?
place. If you want to talk to her after school, go ahead. But you are disrupting the whole class. She has a curriculum to go through. Like,
Right?
and she's old enough to know that. She is smart. She knows that she has
Yeah,
materials that she has to go through. She's kind of being a smartass. And like,
she was being a
yeah,
bitch. Like, okay, clearly
yes,
the teacher did not handle it well.
yeah, not
So
at
like
all.
that's why like okay, yeah, for sure. Like stop being, but like also you kept interrupting this lady and trying to like speak your own fucking like you're not the center of the fucking universe. All these
Yeah.
other little white kids are trying to
Oh,
learn. Um,
it gave me like secondhand embarrassment in that scene.
yeah, for sure. It was like
Yeah,
you're doing too much. Like we love you, you're doing too much.
yeah,
But then the dad, like everything that happened with the dad was like, I was not. I was like, no, because they ain't no fucking way. Your little
yeah.
girl can't stop talking about dead people, and you're out here leave her alone. Ugh. Like,
I'll leave her alone. On top of that, like she was like,
uh,
she's missing assignments. She's not coming to class, and he's like, "Nah, leave her
right,
alone." I'm like, wait.
exactly. That was like,
And he knows about
like,
this because at the family dinner, he says it. He's like, "Oh, we know you've been covering for each other." Like,
and like the teacher just told them that, like,
yeah,
it's just. If I was a teacher, I'd be so fucking pissed.
hmm
Like honestly, like I'll double down on my racism if I was that teacher.
like you know what? Fuck you, nigga.
Right? Like what the fuck?
Nah,
No,
but she
because
came out the gate.
that was ghetto.
She came out the
Mm.
gate though. Do you remember she was like, "Oh, you have such a proper last name," or what? Oh,
Yeah,
Anglo-Saxon.
with the microaggressions.
Who
Yeah, that's
starts
what
a
I'm saying. Like that.
conversation like that? Like
Right? Exactly.
bad writing.
And that's what like that whole scene. I was so complex. Like,
I think it was
who
just
wrote
bad
this?
writing. Um.
The writing was awful. So I did a little more research, and
Oh.
like as I'm apologizing, I found out the writer was actually the director too. So it
Oh.
was Bomani J Story. Bomani Story. That's his name. Bomani Story.
Okay.
Bomani Story. Stay directing. Stop writing.
You did. You did some of the guy.
Girl.
Like ooh. Cause you
Director, okay,
know.
you could be a director. Cute. The writing, get someone else's script. That's not your strong suit, boo.
Yeah. It
Hire people,
was.
hire professionals. You,
Put some of that
that writing was
40
awful.
mil to use. Um.
Right.
But also, like, I'm thinking about different scenes throughout the film where I also got not secondhand embarrassment because I can understand why, but like when she was
Hmm.
creating the monster, she was like giggling and laughing, which I know that's supposed to be like uneasiness, but it felt very forced after like a long time. She was just like, ah, I'm like, okay, we know you're
Hmm.
crazy. Can we get to it? Like, what's going on?
You know what you think about this? What if like the director, because he's not big. He barely has any movies. He literally has two movies, and this is the only one that he actually directed and wrote.
Oh.
The other one, he just like helped write it. He was one of the screenwriters. It
Hmm.
was Rocksteady Roll. I don't, he barely has movies. So imagine like he actually does research and like listens to, because it just came out last year, and he listens to our podcast. And we're like, like whoever
Well,
the
if you listen
fucking
this
wrote this
far, no,
stuff.
if you listen this
It's
far,
constructive criticism.
yeah, like honest
Hire us.
opinions. How?
We'll
Ooh,
help.
hire us! Hey,
Have us in.
listen. I know we look a bit light,
You're
but
not
we promise.
awful, right? I mean, girl.
It's
Okay,
honest, and I think it has to do with the
the writing.
characters, but like no, not the like actors, but how you
Mm.
write the character of Victor
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein, of the monster. It's
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a hard subject to rewrite, and for what it's worth, you did okay.
But it's possible.
It is possible. I truly think he did okay with what was kind of like a really, really old story, mixing it into like a hood setting, into like a black empowerment
Girl,
film.
that plot made no sense. Come on.
I
He
got it.
he
I actually,
it
like looking over it, I got it. I do.
the plot.
Yeah. She wanted to get her brother back because he was
Listen.
shot. She did it.
Well, yeah, that. But I'm talking not just that, like everything. The way everything worked, it was not it.
Like how it came
The way the
together.
story flowed, yeah, it was not it. Like clearly, you understand the motive that she has, yes, but everything did not blend in together. Like the whole story, all the characters, it did not work out.
Mm.
Another example that I have is I don't know none of these people's names, but remember the hood guy, the one that was always like on the night, like, oh no, I know something's happening, like the big one that turned evil
Oh,
at the end
yeah, the
and
like
killed people.
henchman. Yeah.
Yeah, so him, like that whole thing did not make sense. Like, why did he turn evil? For what?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, that was too much of a switch up.
and him, and then like the boss guy was like actually like a good guy, but like there was nothing. We had why? Like,
When he turned
okay.
around, when he turned around and was like, "Yo, we got to protect the neighborhood. We got to like kill this guy." There was no motive for him to do so other than to like him himself to live. You know, like when he turned around and he was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, yeah, you're right." That didn't come together very well. Like those two
Like
characters.
yeah. So it was a lot of ideas. That was like I think he started writing something, and it was
Mm,
like, oh shit, it's filming time. This is what I have. This is
mm,
what we're doing. That's it. Feels like it. That is 100%. He needed someone to review it, someone to take your time writing, make sure. Yeah, it felt rough.
yeah, I
That
was
was
about to be like, were there gangsters in Frankenstein that I don't remember? There was not. Was there a hood?
no.
Go on.
Um. Okay. So this is what I wanted to like rant a little bit about.
Oh,
Um. I want you to guess what the score is on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie.
oh, I think I saw it earlier. I don't remember.
You're gonna forget about it.
Was it 30?
Is that your percentage?
Yes, somewhere in the 30s.
Okay. And guess what score out of 10 they got for IMDb.
MDB.
So you say
Three?
somewhere around 30 something percent for Rotten Tomatoes, and you said 3 out of 10 for IMDb.
Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
consistent.
IMDb, they got a 5.4 out of 10
Okay.
for IMDb.
Halfway.
Do
Wow.
you agree with that or disagree?
Half.
Well, that let's say that for our scores for later on,
All right.
so you don't have to. In Rotten Tomatoes, they have 85% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow. For context, White Chicks has like a 12%.
Right.
think that so Rotten Tomatoes is like by the people, right? It's not
Hmm.
like critical acclaim, or is it?
I think it's kind of both.
Mm. Oh no, because they have like an
But
audience score and a
yeah,
yeah. Okay, whew, that is generous.
their
It
audience
is
score, yeah, their critical score is 85. The audience score is 88.
generous.
I am baffled. What did they see in the movie
What did they
that
see?
I did not?
I think for an adaptation, like I said, it's like the story of Frankenstein itself is one of the things that hurt this movie, in my opinion. So like,
Awful. Well, because I don't think the plot of fucking Frankenstein is that complicated that you can't redo it. Like, it's doable. Like, I think me and you speaking for like an hour or two, we could probably come up with
come
a
up
better
with
premises than that. Let's be
damn
real. Am I lying though?
a good premises.
A better premises.
Damn.
Some difference on what I said. Don't get my words mixed up.
I guess
A night of us
maybe
speaking and shooting ideas.
a
Don't
night
you think?
a night of us dedicate. Okay, maybe yes.
Yeah, for sure. So there's no excuse. Like, why?
I mean, look
Because
at the audience
like we
reviews.
could. I don't trust some people.
Well,
You
you'll
trust
figure
some
out
people?
why.
Do you
You'll
trust some
fig
people?
no, you'll figure out why they gave it the review that they did. You know, because like
It's baffling to me.
I really don't want to hate on this movie because what
I love the cast. Go off cast.
cast
Go
good.
up. Some of the scenes, some of the shots are beautiful. They didn't make
Hmm.
sense with the plot, but sure, they were good. It was very messy, very noobist. It
Messy.
felt film debut. It felt, but like film debut, but with no experience though.
Mm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
because some film debuts be good. So like the tutorial debuts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not.
Okay, so so plot in the original Frankenstein, it was made way back when like religion, like when people were starting to go from religion to science and Scientology. And so the idea was that this man, he's defying the idea of God by trying to make people himself. He's awful for doing that. He's a mere human. That's why he's such a punk bitch when it comes to life, and now he's scared. I really don't like Victor Frankenstein. I really don't. I cannot stand that dude. Anyways, but now the idea is not that. Obviously, we've gotten way past like the idea of religion versus science versus like the morality of each of them. We're now talking about the idea of, well, obviously it's a racial climate, but the idea of death being so familiarized in a black community that instead of
Mhm.
trying to prevent the death from happening, the best solution for in the eyes of this girl is
Mhm.
to
Pure death.
cure it exactly. And that's an interesting concept. I do think that's an interesting
Yeah,
concept. That's like,
for sure. It is
but what, how it's handled in the plot? Like, how was it handled in the plot?
awful.
Well, how? So, what does she do? She takes.
She revived him, but like it felt like. I mean, I guess she kind of did learn something. Like, oh, well, you can't revive them, but like if they're freshly dead, then yes, you can. Like that was
Girl, we
more.
learned nothing. We learned
It was.
nothing. It wasn't because he was ugly that, well,
There
it
was
was
like no character development. There was like very little like redemption for characters.
right. And in a
And when there
way,
were redemptions, it was like,
because honestly, okay, I guess the drug dealer had like a little bit of resumption.
yeah, exactly, and
But
that didn't
besides,
even make no sense.
and he
So it
died.
was
So
like
what good did that do? You know?
it was. She
But
could have revived him too. Like,
let's think about it, right? Chris came back stronger, unable to be killed. Is that going to happen to everybody that she brings back, or is it just because he was this hulking monster-looking figure? Can she even give
Well,
birth?
it's because it was. I think it was. Yeah, because she was freshly dead. So what happened with the brother, from what I understood, is first of all he was dead for a while, and
Right.
that's very different. Reviving someone that just went died versus reviving someone because I don't. That's a different experience. Probably, but
Yeah,
on top of that, remember that she didn't just revive him. She used like pieces of other different people. Like
that's
it was a
right.
bunch of collective people. So I think like that probably had something to do with it. Then it's not just because for the
Mm,
other people, like the family members, she was like revived them, like in their own body, nothing. She probably like
mm,
stitched them over like "Whoa." Like that probably had something to do with it. Like
got you.
it was literally like they've been dead for like a big ass while, as well
Yeah.
as there's a collective of human parts. It's not just like
Okay.
just the brother. So that probably had something to do with it too.
Okay.
At least
So
that's how
in
I
the
interpret it.
that makes sense then. In the idea of death, but also for Chris, she is dead wrong. Like, I know she quote unquote tried her best, but Chris did not have a say in coming back to life, in looking like a
Hmm.
monster, in having to now just because, like, what was he gonna do? Everyone was afraid of him. Everyone tried to shoot him on sight.
Yeah.
That, like, it's selfish actually, and it's very Victor Frankenstein for her to do so because, like,
That's very white man of her to
oh,
do.
well, and like that pissed me because I caught it too. She was like, when she was sitting behind the door with the drug dealer, and he was like, "We got to kill it," and she's like, "No, no, I got to see what happens." She didn't say, "No, no, it's my brother." She said, "No, no, I have to see what happens. Like this experiment, I need to see it through. I need to know what happens after
It's
it."
yeah, and
That's
that was like also like a big plot hole because she was always like, "Oh my god, we have to take it down. We have to like run, run." But like she was always like, "Oh wait, no, leave it. Don't kill
right.
him." So it was
He's my
so
brother. Are you sure? Because
bad.
you didn't act like that for the beginning of the entire.
Uh,
She
I think
told.
the writing was bad. I like that's what I think happened. I think he had an idea and he had a bunch of different like little like plot lines like but it felt unfinished. Like he never like revised or anything. It was like, oh, it's time to film. Oh shit, let me go film with what I have.
Yeah. I just.
That's what it felt like.
It's like hard for me, really, because, like I keep saying, this book is a very frustrating book, like the original Frankenstein.
Yeah,
And,
for
like,
sure.
for me, I'm trying to like relate that frustration to the plot that's currently here. So I'm having trouble like
Hmm.
separating that frustration from like, damn, is this movie like actually frustrating in a bad way? You know what I mean? But like as you
Yeah.
talk about it, I'm getting like, yeah, they could have done much better with the plot and like making things just make sense. Yeah.
Hmm. That's true. But yeah, I mean, do you have anything else that you want to mention?
I just want to like go back to the idea of like death is a cure. You know, like
Sure. Mm-hmm.
again, that's a really
You know what did
interesting
not make
concept.
sense? The
What?
cancer stuff. When she was talking
Oh,
about the cancer stuff, like, oh, cancer is just a symptom of that. That did not make sense.
I was thinking about that too. I'm like, okay, so what is that? Death
That
is like,
definitely did not make sense because you get cancer when you're not dead when you get cancer. You die from cancer,
that's true.
but like it's not.
So, in I think
Is
she
it
was
like a
saying like,
pre-symptom?
I think that's what she meant. Like for a flu, you like cough. I think the equivalent of that is like cancer. Like for death, you get cancer.
But like it's also because she's smart and she know that's not how it works. So it's like because cancer is not it's not like people it's 2023 it was based on 2023 it's not like
That's
people
true.
haven't been cured from cancer like it's how is it a symptom of death like it doesn't like when you have cancer it doesn't mean that you're 100% gonna die it does mean you're dying but like also
For her, it's like
it didn't.
to cure yourself from cancer is the equivalent of curing yourself from death. But that's just cancer. Like you could die from many things. People die
Right.
just from being old.
Exactly.
So it's like
Exactly.
death.
That definitely did not make sense to me. I was like, girl,
For me, it's like, okay, she's hurting. She has this rotting corpse in her freaking, not even her apartment.
multiple rotting corpses.
Multi Oh my gosh, she's wrong for that. You know what I thought? I was thinking, like, as the little kid was dying on the street, I thought she was going
Mhm.
to snatch him up. Like I thought she was looking at him
Right. Me
like,
too.
just die.
But it was like
Like,
it
yo.
was so weird because also she didn't have like any emotion. Like the character development for like this film in general, it was just shit.
It was.
Like
She went from
in
like,
general.
I noticed that too. There, everyone was like, "Oh, you have this smart ass little like attitude," but she was
Hmm.
actually a kind of a punk. Like she was quiet. She kind of like she talked sometimes, but she was very easy to run and like cry and like, which she should have feelings, but like it's that being scared of the thing that she created. Not even scared when it hurt her. Like her arm got jacked up, and she
Yeah.
wasn't scared at that point. She was only scared after she beat up the guy who tried to shoot him. Which no, he's
Right.
gonna. He just got shot. You
Right.
think he's not?
It did. It. It, I mean, I'm just beating a dead horse.
Just
My
yeah.
opinion's not gonna change. Like, you know what I'm gonna say.
I'm just like
The,
realizing it
the
more, which is sad.
like the cast amazing, but with that cast and that budget and like the premises of like Frankenstein but make it black, could have done so much more.
Could
You
have.
could have went off. Like this movie could have been so fucking good.
Mm,
But he said, that ooh, ooh,
yeah.
that that pain and paper, ooh, that was the horror part of the movie. The
The
yeah,
script.
that was the horror part. That's where the horror came in. It was a thriller, but
Nah,
then the horror was the plot.
that's crazy to
Hmm.
say. I just
For sure.
it is sad because like I said, I love that concept. Like death. It what did I say? Death is what? Death can be cured because it implies a lot. Like if you actually think about it, it implies that death is just another symptom of being alive. So, instead of thinking that being alive is like one thing and death is another thing, you're combining the two. You're like, okay, you're just alive until you're dead, or you're gonna be dead, but you're just alive right now. Which yeah, makes sense. But like, sorry for the stoners again, but it's like, what do you do from there? Is it really your decision to like cure it? Should you be allowed to cure it? Not in the like
Hmm.
God has the power and you shouldn't have the power. But like that's not you. That's not you. I don't think you have the right over somebody else's like life. Like even if you're in a good I don't know, if you're thinking about it in a good way, like
Hmm.
even if you have pure intentions,
Yeah.
that's not you. You doing this is like way it's too far, girl. Don't you know the
Yeah.
word's too
For
far?
sure.
So
For sure.
yeah,
Hmm.
I just wish that concept. I hope that concept comes up again somehow in the future, and I want it to be done differently.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. It was. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. People might be too scared though.
Oh,
No,
to try and tackle it.
no, no. I think the concept it's a good concept,
Mm-hmm.
great concept, but yeah, I think
Because then
it
what?
was very botched.
If death is cured, then what, we just got people running around. Also, they should have leaned much more into the fact that okay, say death is curable, they can no
Hmm.
longer die then by bullets. What does that mean though? People are still going to get shot though. They're in the hood. They're in a bad hood if people are just like gun violence everywhere. That doesn't stop.
Yeah,
Like I wish they leaned more into that if they were going to like speak about it at all.
they could have leaned into a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, It did not make sense. It did not.
Because they talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, any final thoughts before we wrap up, or does that summon set up? Because I think we're just going in
In
circles at this
circles.
point.
It's just, yeah, I don't want to hate it. I really don't want to hate it. That's like
But I
my,
mean, I don't think it's a want. It's just looking at the piece as like a critical point. Like this is the piece. This is what you.
mm-hmm.
Cause clearly, yeah, like is a black movie. We're trying to support them and things like that. But at the end of
Right.
the day, if it's shit, it's shit.
If
Like
it's a,
there's nothing we could do about
ah,
it. The
yeah.
cast amazing. Like I'm not I like give it credit where credit's due. The cast, the actors, fuck yeah, they should be casted more often. It was amazing.
Hmm.
The director who directed and wrote it, he was a good director. He's just not a good writer, in my opinion. So yeah, like him, like continue directing. Those were amazing scenes. The writing was just it was literally I have not seen this bad writing in a while. Like it's very atrocious.
What would you
Like
compare it
it's
to?
not even like boring writing, it's just actively bad.
Do you have a
Huh?
movie that you can compare it to?
I
In a
love
scale,
this object.
in a scale from Morbius to,
Morbius is definitely worse than Morbius. The writing was definitely worse than Morbius. I'm not saying the writing was worse than Morbius for sure. Yeah, I'd say that. Would you say it was better than Morbius? The
oh,
plot, like the right, yeah.
I plead the fifth. Nah, you're not gonna catch me on
What
Black
do you mean
History
you plead
Month.
the fifth?
You're not about to catch
Jayla,
me on Black History
you
Month.
can't do that. Come on, that's a setup.
You said
That's
worse
like
than
the
Morbius?
yeah. You don't think it's worse than Morbius? Just looking at the plot, like the writing, like how
You know
everything.
what? Maybe that wasn't fair because Morbius was literally already written in comic form, like
Yeah. Yes.
word for
Exactly.
word. Okay, so in that
Yeah.
sense, yeah, it's not fair. But it is. But it's not fair.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know, but like,
Now you're looking for an answer, knowing what the fuck the answer is gonna be, and then be like, "How dare you!" Even though you
listen,
agree, you'd be like, "Oh,
listen.
you fucking problematic asshole."
I try to give you a chance. You could have disagreed. Listen,
Ah, you know
nah.
damn well. Anyways, what do you rate this movie out of 10, Jayla?
Out of
What's your
10,
rate?
I'm gonna give this a 5.
A 5?
It was a movie.
Generous, huh?
Ah, 80 is generous. I'm gonna be honest. 80 is generous. Five because I like the characters. I like the
Mm-hmm.
cinematography. I thought the
Mm-hmm.
gore. I thought like some of the gory stuff did make me shiver a little bit. It was kind of cool. I like the
Mm-hmm.
idea of translating Frankenstein into a black urban place. Like,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of death being curable.
Mm. So you're saying I'm gonna give it a 5 because I like the idea of the movie. I didn't like the movie. I like the idea.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of
Yeah.
it. That is a big part of movies, just like the concept. Because you can have, imagine having an amazing movie, but a really bad concept. Could you say you like that movie? For me, it's kind of the opposite.
Haven't come across it, so I
Oh my
don't
God.
know. Um,
At the end of the
you
day,
like the non-existent plot. You like the idea. No. See.
at the end of the day, it's half for me. I'm not watching this again.
Okay. Definitely not.
But
Force me. Um.
I am thinking about it though. Like I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm thinking about how to make it better, but I am thinking about it. So like, you know, yeah, five. What do you got? What is your
Okay. You did sell me up a little bit. I was gonna go lower. Okay. So my score is a 3.5.
damn?
I'll
Out
give that
of
point 0.5 to Jayla selling it up.
that's
Cause
correct.
okay, I was originally thinking a 2, but then I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, the cast though, the cast a whoever casted this movie go off. So I was like, okay, 3 because I can't do the cast like that. And then I was like, you know what? The director he did direct. Like it
Correct.
had some cool shots. The shot did not make sense with what was going on, but there were some cool shots. So like I want to give him points for that too. So 3.5. That's what I give them.
3.5. A 35 out of 100. That's a failing grade. That's
That's what it
I'm
deserves.
gonna take the class again. Damn.
A 50 out of 100 is failing too.
Listen, at least you could like combine two
An
grades
F is an
together.
F. No. An F is an F. That's what I'm saying. Listen.
Maybe not in the American school system, maybe, but you don't know what they do in Europe. In Europe, an 80 is an A. Somewhere in Europe. I don't know where. But let's off track, off track.
Anyways, thank you all for coming. This is our shortest one yet.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It
yeah,
just it
but
is what it is.
it is what it is. But yeah, thank y'all for coming. Please tune in next week for another ranting review. And of course, always keep it 100% real.
Thank you. This has been us, your hosts. And if you like this conversation, please go check out some of our others. And please go follow
Mhm.
us on Instagram at the BFF Real. And we see y'all soon.
Mhm. Yeah, see ya.
Bye.